Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Good morning. We'll wait for 1 or 2 minutes and then we'll start. So shall we start now? Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll start. Today I will finish my class little earlier, 10 minutes, because I have to, you people start giving your attendance by 11, 10, 20 or so. Even if I forget to tell you. I have some other meeting with AICT at 10:30.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. So we'll start now. Okay. So what we have done till yesterday, we have seen some logical instructions. Am I audible clearly?
Yes, ma'am.
My screen is visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. What is there in the same screen now?
The capacity to learn is a gift, the ability to learn is a skill, and the willingness to learn is a choice. Brian
Good.
Herbert.
Good, good, good. So with this quote, we'll start further, and shortly we'll see that during my first class also and second class also, we have discussed that my whatever instructions we write, move, RLC, etc., we understand that because we have derived that with the help of English, so that we will understand and we will not forget to write it in the program. But microprocessor does not understand this language. What language microprocessor understand? Microprocessor understands only machine codes. So whatever language we write, that is our assembly language program. Now assembler converts that program into machine language code, and these codes, each and every instruction is having its opcode, that is machine code, and that is understood by microprocessor. So what we write is assembly language code, what microprocessor understands is machine code, and who does this job? It is assembler. So this is just I wanted to tell you, because this you should know this also. Now we have seen lot many instructions, but purposely I had skipped this particular classification, because now you will understand it better. When we talk about 8085 instruction set, we can classify them in 1 byte instruction, 2 byte instructions, or 3 byte instructions. Now why it is so? 1 byte instruction, 2 byte instruction, 3 byte instructions? Because we should know this, because 1 byte instruction takes less time to execute the program, 2 byte instruction takes more time to execute the program, and 3 byte instructions takes little more time to execute the program. But suppose if we want to write the bigger programs, like now we are writing short, small programs, but if you want to write bigger programs, then we have to be very careful with this selection of the type of instructions. Why? Because if we select the instruction with 3 byte or 2 byte, and in place of that we would have selected 1 byte instruction, then we would have saved the memory capacity also, and we could save the time also. So it is, that's why we should know all the type categories of instructions, so that we can effectively make the selection of the instructions to form the program. Now suppose, let's say we'll see one example. Now suppose if you have this instruction move c comma a, what it does, it takes the contents of accumulator and it transfers into C register. So now there is no, whatever is in accumulator, we should not know what is there in accumulator. So this instruction is only having opcode 4F. Now when microprocessor decodes this 4F, it comes to know that accumulator contents has to be taken into C register. So this is 1 byte instruction, because only 4F is sufficient to tell the microprocessor that accumulator contents are to be moved in C register. Now similarly, next instruction add B. What it tells that you have to add the contents of B register into A register, and the result has to be stored into A register. All these things are told to microprocessor with the help of AT-hex. When microprocessor decodes AT-hex, internal circuitry of this AT-hex tells microprocessor that it has to add the contents of B register to the contents of accumulator, and result has to be stored into accumulator. So this is also 1 byte instruction, because only AT is the 1 byte which tells microprocessor that it has to do all these tasks. Now next instruction is your CMA, that is complement accumulator. Now it is understood that you don't need any operand with this particular instruction. Whatever is in accumulator, we don't have to know what is there in accumulator. Each bit is complemented. So this instruction is having opcode 7F. So when microprocessor decodes 7F, it comes to know that it has to complement the each bit of accumulator, and the result has to be stored into accumulator. So that's why these instructions are 1 byte instructions. Now moving ahead, we'll shortly see the other instructions also. Now 2 byte instruction. When we write MVI A comma data, then for MVI A we have to write opcode, that is 3E machine code. But when microprocessor decodes this 3E, it comes to know that some immediate data has to be taken into accumulator, and that data is given in the next memory location. So that's why this particular instruction is occupying 2 bytes. One for telling the microprocessor that immediate data has to be taken into accumulator, and another for that particular immediate data. So this is 2 byte instruction, 1 and 2 byte instruction. So when microprocessor decodes 3, it automatically comes to know that whatever is next byte, that is your immediate data. So this is how your 2 byte instructions are there. Now we'll go with the 3 byte instruction. Yesterday we have seen jump instruction, that is unconditional jump. It is jumping to the memory location 2085 according to this particular example. So when I write C3, when microprocessor decodes C3, it comes to know that it has to jump to some memory location, and that memory location address is given in next 2 bytes, because memory address is 16 bytes. At one memory place you can store only 1 byte. So first lower byte is stored, that is 85, and then higher byte is stored, that is 20. So this particular instruction occupies 3 bytes, that is C3, 85 and 20. So when microprocessor decodes C3, it comes to know that it has to pick up next 2 bytes, which is the address of the memory location where it has to move transfer the program sequence. So this particular equation, this particular instruction is 3-byte instruction. So that's why we should know that what is the number of bytes of instruction, and suppose wherever you can use minimum number of byte of instructions, then you can save the time of execution and you can save the memory location. Now if you go further, there are addressing modes. Addressing modes means the mode how the instruction is addressed, and these are classified as register addressing, where registers are used in instructions; immediate addressing, where immediate data is used in instruction; memory addressing, here there are two types, direct and indirect. Directly you can address the memory, or indirectly you can address the memory; and input output addressing. So we'll see what is this addressing. We should know from the category of the instruction that what is its addressing modes. So if we talk about this particular move A comma B, now here both are registers. A is also register, accumulator, and B is also register. So this particular instruction is called as register addressing. When I talk about add C, that means C register contents are added to accumulator and result is stored into accumulator. So this is the category of these instructions are category of register addressing. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So we'll move ahead. Immediate addressing. Now what is immediate addressing? I told you that immediate addressing means you have to there should be some immediate data which has to be transferred to either register or to any pair or whatever may be, but there has to be immediate data in the instruction. Now if you talk about MVI A comma 20 hex, that means immediate data is 20 and this data is transferred to accumulator. When I talk about LXI H2050, that means HL pair is loaded with 2050. That means H register will contain 20 and L register will contain 50. So we are directly giving the immediate data to go transfer into this particular registers. Now when I talk about ADI 30 hex, that means immediate data 30 is added to accumulator contents and the result is stored into accumulator. So all these instructions, whatever may be the instruction, if it is using immediate data, then it falls under immediate addressing mode. Now moving ahead. Yeah, we were talking about the next categories, that is memory addressing. Now memory addressing, I told you that there are two types of memory addressing. One is direct addressing and one is indirect addressing. Now we'll see what is this direct addressing and indirect addressing. When we say that LDA 2050, that means load accumulator with contents of memory location with address 2050. That means whatever is there in 2050 memory location, that has to go into accumulator. So here I am giving the direct address of the memory location. That's why it is coming under direct addressing mode. When I say STA 3050, that means whatever is an accumulator that has to be stored to memory location 3050. So in both the instructions, because I am giving direct address of the memory location, it falls under direct addressing mode. Now what is indirect addressing mode? Indirect addressing mode means you are not giving the direct address, but still memory is involved. So when we talk about move M comma A, that means accumulator contents are transferred to the location which which has formed M. Now suppose if my HL pair is 2050, then my 2050 contents are M contents. So here we are taking the address, but indirectly through M. So that's why this is this comes under indirect addressing. Understood? We can call this
Yes,
as
ma'am.
register addressing also, but this can fall under indirect addressing also, and this can fall under direct address. Register addressing also. So input output addressing. Next class is input output addressing. So we have only two instructions for input output. One is in and one is out. What in instruction is doing? I told you that always 8085 has 16-bit address, but only two instructions are there, in and out instruction, which use 8-bit address. So when I talk about in 07 hex, that means 07 is the address of the port from where the data has to come into accumulator. And out to 1 hex means whatever is an accumulator, that has to be outputted to the port which is having address 21 hex. So these two instructions fall under input output addressing modes. Clear? Now shortly we'll see the flags. Whenever we have discussed our talks of addition, subtraction, we were talking about the sign flag is affected, carry flag is affected, 0 is affected. And in first lecture also we have seen that how many flags are there. There are 5 flags in 8085 register. So which are these 5 flags? These 5 flags, if you form the word or byte, it is the carry flag is placed at D0 bit, parity flag is placed at D2 bit, auxiliary carry flag is placed at D4 bit, and sign flag is placed at D7 bit, 0 flag is placed at D6 bit. Now this is the status of microprocessor. This is the status of program status, word PSW, which forms the pair with accumulator. So whenever we talk about these flags, what are the descriptions of this particular flags? We'll see. Somebody's mic is on. Somebody's mic is on. Please put your mic off. Yeah. We'll see how 0 flag is working. Now suppose if your result of operation is 0, if your result of operation is 0, then your 0 flag will set to 1. When your result of operation is generating the carry or borrow, that means if your addition result is more than 8-bit, carry will be generated. And if your subtraction result, if the number from which you are subtracting is low, then it will generate the borrow. So, hello? Somebody's mic is on and I could listen whatever they are telling. So please put your mic off. So when the addition result is more than 8-bit, or when the subtraction is done through smaller number, then borrow is generated. In both the case, the carry flag will be set to 1. Whether it is borrow or whether it is carry, it is the carry flag which is set or reset. So we'll move ahead with next flags. Auxiliary carry. Auxiliary carry is set with the operation of bit 3 result. Bit 3 result means the 4th bit, D0, D1, D2 and D3. So D3 bit, when the nibble is generating the carry, then it is called the auxiliary carry flag. When the byte is generating the carry, it is carry flag. When the nibble is generating the carry, it is auxiliary flag. And next is parity flag. What is parity flag? Parity flag is when the parity is even, that means the number of ones are even, then parity flag is set to 1. When the parity is odd, that means number of ones are odd, then parity flag is cleared to 0. So you should know all these flags, like when they set or when they reset and what you have to do. And sign flag, I have already told you about the sign flag yesterday. D7 bit is showing you the sign status. That means you have altogether 256 bytes, that is from 00 to 255. And all these are positive numbers if you do not use the sign status. But if you want to work with negative and positive numbers, and because you do not have other options to from 00 to FF, you have to classify half of the data to negative and half of the data to positive. So whatever data is from 00 to 79F, that is positive because D7 bit is 0. And whatever data is from 80X to FFX, this is negative because D7 bit is 1. So this is positive and negative, and sign will be only considered when you want to use negative or positive numbers. If you do not want to use negative positive numbers, then your D7 bit is also considered as a part of the data. So now we'll see with the go with the programming of almost maximum instructions we have done. Few instructions are left, that is purposely left. So whenever we will do the operations, let's say interrupt instructions, so whenever we will study the interrupts, whenever we will study the subroutine, we will study all those instructions. There are very few instructions which are left. So whatever instructions we have studied till now, they are more than sufficient to write the programs. So we'll start with program 1, which will start with small programs so that you can understand and you can start writing bigger programs. So our first program is store 8-bit data in memory. So now this memory has to be 16-bit address and data is given as 8-bit data. Now what is the program is telling you? You have to carry out this particular task. Now it is up to you that what instructions you are writing. So let's say I have written first instruction MVI A, 49. That means 49 is the 8-bit data which I am storing into accumulator. Now next I am writing instruction STA 2501. So 2501 is the memory address. This is memory. So 2501 is the memory address. You can take any example. I have taken 2501. Example can be anything. This 16-bit address can be anything. So whatever is the data of accumulator, that is 8-bit data, that is stored to 16-bit memory location 2501. And next instruction is halt, that is stopping the program. So this is the mnemonics and this is the comment. So what you are writing, either you write comment with semicolon or you write comment with colon, whichever, but it has to be little far from this and it has to be separated through semicolon or colons. So understood this particular program? You are taking, because you are told that you have to transfer 8-bit data into memory location. So somewhere you have to take the data, either you can take in B register, you can take in C register. But if you take in B register or C register, then you don't have the option of STA. STA operates only through accumulator. So that's why it is better to take the data in accumulator. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So we'll go with next program. Vinay Gupta is there? Vinay Gupta is there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So
Hello.
just in between, I will ask any student so that you have to be alert. Don't just put your mobile and systems on and roam here there. So we'll go with the program 2. Now what is program 2 is asking you, store 8-bit data in memory using indirect addressing. So previously in first instruction, it had not told you that you have to use which addressing, what is that. But here, because it has specified that you have to use indirect addressing, your instructions should be like that only. So what first instruction we are writing? We are writing LXI H. That means HL pair with loaded with 2501. That means H will contain 25 and L will contain 01. So your HL pair will form memory address 2501. Now what next we are doing? because we are told that we have to use indirect addressing. So we are writing MVI M, because M is indirectly we are moving the data to 2501. Because why M? M is formed with HL pair. So when we are taking 49 into M, that means 49 is ultimately going to which memory location? It is going to 2501. So directly we are not transferring 49 to 2501, but indirectly we are transferring 49 to 2501 through this instruction MVI M. So that's why when it is called indirect addressing, you have to use, then you have to write your instructions like this. Understood? So next we'll see addition of 2 8-bit numbers. This I had given you for assignment also. So let's say these two are the memory locations 2501, which is containing first data, and this is containing another data 2502 memory location is containing another data, that is 39, and you have to add the contents of 2501 memory location to the contents of 2503 memory location, 2 memory location, and you have to store the result into next memory location, that is 2503. So when you add 99 to 39, your result is D2. So how will you write this in program? What you do, you will take one memory location. See, everywhere I have taken address 2501. So it is not at all compulsory that always the address should be 2501. You can take any address. It can be 2000, it can be 2500, it can be 4000. Address can be from 0000 to FFFF. But you have to see that whatever address you are taking, if your flow of program is going below that address, then there should be some space in the memory location. So your address should not be FFFF, because if you take FFFF, then next instruction will not get the space. So whatever address you are taking, it is just the example that I am taking 2501. You can take any address. So now what is it telling? What is our job? Our job is that there are two numbers. One first number is stored at 2501 and other number is stored at 2501. You have to add these two numbers and you have to store the result into 2503 memory location. So when I take when I write this instruction LXI H 2501, that means HL register is pointing. Yeah, Noor Ahmed, have you joined? Noor Ahmed? Noor Ahmed, have you joined? Noor Ahmed, have you joined? So we were talking about the addition program. HL pair is pointed out by 2501 and this is your first memory location. What you are doing, the first data is there in 2501. So that data, when I write move A comma M, M stands for 2501. So whatever is at 2501, that is our first data. It goes to accumulator. Then what we do INX H, that means HL pair. X stands for register pair and IN stands for incrementing by 1. So what has to be incremented by 1? HL pair has to be incremented by 1. Now what is HL pair is containing? 2501. So if you increment 2501 by 1, then you get 2502. So whatever is in now that because HL is pointing out 2502, so now your M is 2502. So when I say add M, that means whatever is at 2502 memory location, that is our second data, that has to be added to the accumulator contents. Now what is accumulator is containing? Accumulator is containing first data of memory location 2501. and then I'm incrementing again INXH so that I will point out to 2503 memory location, because I have to store my result which is currently available in accumulator. So then I will write instruction move m comma a. That means whatever is in accumulator, that is your addition result. It will go into m. That means m is now pointed out by 2503 memory location. So where ultimately your result will go? Ultimately your result will go to 2503 memory location. So there are few other instructions, a few other programs also, but because now I have to wind it out my class. Have you written, all of you, have you written your attendance? So you take your you take your assignment. You have to write the program for multiplication. All of you put your attendance in chat box immediately. Those who have not put. I have some meeting at 10:30 with AICTE, so I have to wind up this class. So all of you have written the attendance. So is it clear to all of you, the programming, the classification of the instructions byte wise, and addressing modes, and how to write the program? Is it clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so you have to write, your next assignment is you have to write the program for multiplication, multiplying two numbers and storing into the next memory location. So I am just now ending the meeting. I will stop sharing. So all of you are clear what is your assignment? You have to multiply two 8-bit numbers, and you have to store the result in next memory location or maybe any memory location.
Okay, ma'am.
How was your training? How was your training on that Python?
Ma'am, very good.
So they have covered basics, or they have covered applications also?
Ma'am, he's covered online concepts वगैरह.
Okay, okay. So would you like to, do you have any suggestions to, do you want any further other trainings on other topics? We can arrange that, because we have short time now. TechCube will go, TechCube 3 will exhaust. So we have to utilize all these things. So that's why I'm organizing this, so that you can, at least you will be benefited with. So if you are
Ma'am, IoT या ML पे.
IoT, yeah, okay, machine learning, okay. Okay, I will float that in this thing in chat box. So with the same people or with different people? The speakers were good or not?
Ma'am, अच्छे थे.
Okay, good. So IoT or ML, okay, we'll do that. I am ending the meeting now.